Good morning. Happy Monday morning and happy coffee for me. I wonder what you all are drinking. Please comment and let me know that you're here. Say hi. Otherwise, I actually don't know that you're here, and so it's really nice to know that you're watching, that you're here with me. It's been a crazy week in the life of Rachel. I've been trying to kind of rebuild a life, after becoming vaccinated, and at least in Texas and in Austin specifically, a lot of the kind of activities, the world, so many people are vaccinated that things are really opening back up, and people are feeling safe, including me, about socializing again with others who are vaccinated. Hello, good morning, David. He's watching from the office. And so I may have slightly overcommitted myself, but it's unclear because, after a year of doing not a whole lot beyond my work and kind of my nesting and my home and my domesticity, this last week I started volunteering at a local farm that helps disadvantaged youth, and also donates food to local charities that help relieve hunger. So that was been really lovely, but also tiring, because farm work, especially in the Texas heat, is tiring. But I do love digging in the dirt and being outside, so that makes me happy. Hello, Dave. I'm curious what a big heat wave in Nova Scotia. What does that mean? Like, what are the temperatures in Nova Scotia that make it a big heat wave right now? I'll keep talking and then until you get a chance to respond. There's a little delay here. So I started doing the farm work. I got back into swing dancing. I don't know if you know, a couple years ago, I was really big into swing dancing. And then when I started doing the 52 and all the touring, I stopped having time for it. So I started taking classes to kind of learn how to do it. And I've been taking trapeze classes, hooray, upper body strength. And I've also been taking Spanish lessons, because living in Texas, there are a lot of folks here who speak mostly Spanish, and I want to be able to communicate with those folks, at least in like a polite way, hey, how are you doing? And like, can I get you a cold drink? Especially because I just bought a house and have had a lot of people out here working on it, because it's an older house and there's a lot of work to be done. And a lot of them don't speak much English, and it feels almost like impolite to me to not at least try. So I'm really excited. I love learning languages, so I'm doing all of that stuff. Let's see here. Dave says heat wave in Nova Scotia is 81 degrees. Wow, Fahrenheit 27°C. That is really hot. That's hot for anywhere, I think, and I'm sure it's really hot in a place where you don't have AC. In Seattle, where I grew up, we didn't really have AC. Most houses did not have air conditioning, and so when it got really hot in like August, it was just brutal because nobody was prepared for it. I would imagine it's the same in Nova Scotia. We finally understand Celsius now that we're back in the US, but I feel like Celsius was never the hardest thing. What was the hardest thing? I don't know, maybe it was actually temperature, because kilograms, like weight, was always really quite easy, and meters and kilometers actually were super easy. So easy, in fact, that it took like some getting used to miles again, because like a meter is this distance that you can like see and measure and step, and then a kilometer is just 1,000 of those. And then we did so much hiking and tramping and backpacking and stuff abroad that our kind of sense of, oh, that was a kilometer, really got built in to the point now where we hike now, and it's like, how much did we go? Has it been a mile yet? Like, we don't even know. It's very silly, given that we both grew up in the US. Okay, I've been chatting a lot. I've got a lot to share, actually. I'm feeling kind of like quiet and reflective, maybe like a little fragile this morning. But part of what I want to do with this series on Monday Morning Coffee is just share with you where I'm at, however that is, and because I feel like a lot of music makers, it's just a kind of something you don't see a whole lot. You see the finished product, the final product, but not necessarily the process, the struggle, the ups and downs, all that. So that's what I'm here to share with you. Oh, sweet. That's right, Dave. I remember you telling me that. Dave describes himself as my super fan, my number one fan, and he's saying he told me that he got a heat pump, so that's awesome. I'm glad you have AC, but I'm sure you're surrounded by people who are suffering in that 81-degree heat. Hope everybody's okay. Okay, so I'm gonna play now. This is part of kind of the fragile space. I have hardly touched the piano in the last week. And so nothing is really live for me this week. I'm not working on anything new. I haven't made any progress on the new pieces I've been writing that I've been sharing with you in prior weeks. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm going to play one that's a favorite of a lot of my fans. I'm gonna play Luminous. And actually I haven't played Luminous in quite some time. It's nice sometimes to go back and revisit music that I wrote a while ago, because sometimes I just kind of forget how lovely it is and how engaging it is, and it can be nice to experience it almost like something new. I was gonna say another thing about Luminous is the music came to me while scuba diving. The beginning of it, at least. I mean, it's like a 5-minute song, so the whole song didn't come to me, but you know, the inspiration, the seed of it did. And but in total, it took me like a year. It took me about a year to finish it, of just kind of like dipping into it and dipping out. And also, you know, David and I were settling in as expats in New Zealand, and that took a lot of energy. So it was kind of like set down, and then I went back to it, sat down, and bring back to it. It seems like a perfect piece to play right now after a week where I haven't written a lot of music. And after the 52, I'm sort of finding myself internally beating up on myself for not writing music in this last week, when in reality life does get in the way, and we can't always be our most amazing creative selves every week. So this is kind of a nice meditation on that. Okay, I'm actually gonna play. This is Luminous. By the way, this is still, you know, Monday Morning Coffee. This is week 16, so it's still very new. If you notice anything like, oh, that angle was really good, or this angle isn't working, or whatever, please feel free to share. You can message me if you'd like, if you'd rather it not be in the comments, but you can also share in the comments. It's totally cool. Oh, DJ, he says Luminous puts his 3-year-old to sleep every night. Oh, that makes me feel, I don't even know, happy, loved, something really wonderful in that space. I'm so glad I get to be a part of your life. And good morning. I've forgotten. That one's like a slight bit of a like wrist buster to play, and I didn't warm up, which is not very wise of me. Let's see here. I'm seeing some comments. I'm just gonna have a peek at them. Oh, yay. I'm so glad you all enjoyed this so much. Wow, Dave, everyone in this chat has Dave in their name. Oh gosh, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, I love my Yamaha piano. It is, I didn't even realize how much I was gonna love Yamahas. And then when I was living in New Zealand, it's like used piano selection is pretty tight there, just because it's a small country and it's an island, you know, they don't really produce many pianos there. A couple of very small, like niche brands, but so the selection and the pricing was really, so that is what kind of led me to Yamaha, where I hadn't really had much exposure to Yamaha before I actually purchased this piano. Funny story, I think I was going to see a Kauai at like a little used piano importer, like it was in the basement of someone's house. This is how things roll in New Zealand, because it's all like just one step away from rural. So this shop was in the basement of somebody's house, and they had 3 grand pianos that they brought in from Japan, and one was this Kauai, which was the cheapest one of the 3. And that's the one that pulled me in, and I played it, and I was sort of like, yeah, it's nice. Yeah, I like it. I like it, and I was desperate. At that point, I'd been playing a keyboard. I'd gone from a year of travel to playing a keyboard in my bedroom, because I was living in a house with 7 other people. So, you know, keyboard in my bedroom for a year. I wrote Luminous on that keyboard, as well as a lot of the music from, all the music from Wandering Soul. I was desperate for a piano. So I found a great technician who, like I was told, was just like the best in the country. And I had him come look at this Kauai, and he was like, yeah, it's not in great shape, actually. The strings are a little rusted. Like, I would not get this piano. And then he was like, but these Yamahas look like they're in pretty good shape. There was a Yamaha C5 and my Yamaha C7. So I popped over and I sat at the Yamaha C5. I actually didn't love the sound of that one. And he was like, well, like a C7 is one of the best pianos you can get in your home at this price point. And so I just kind of slid over. I'm looking at David, kind of like, it was a lot more expensive, like looking at David like, I'm just gonna try it. And slid over and played it, and it was just like magic. Like the owner of the shop came up kind of behind me and was like listening to me play. And she saw, you know, she had a price listed, and she's like, I'll give you a much better price than that. Like, I want you to have this piano. And so I ended up getting this piano, and it's just been like, it came from New Zealand to Texas with me, because it's such a special piano. Not only is Yamaha a great brand, but this is a really great example of a Yamaha C7. It has a really special sound. So, I don't know where I was going with that, other than just riffing on how excited I am about this piano. I'm so grateful to have it. Let's see. I mentioned that this last week was a little bit of a quiet one for me, creatively at least, but it's been really busy otherwise. I have to say that buying this house, this older house, it's like every week there's like, we're having handymen out and folks to help us like remediate the grading in the yard. There's just like all kinds of issues, and David and I had to learn about just like a massive basket of different fields, and because we're both kind of perfectionists, and we want to do it right, and we want to learn, and we're both the kind of people that are always striving to be better, you know, always striving to learn more. And so these kinds of situations, we can really do really well at that, but it's also can be really, really draining. So it's been really draining is really the upshot of that. And the house is a mess, and yeah, okay, this is not supposed to be a Rachel vent session, but I guess I'm trying to be really real with you all. I think that has kind of bled over into my concept of myself as a composer. As you know, if you've been following, I think all of you that are here right now have been following Monday Morning Coffee. Like, I've been writing music. I've got like half an album of new solo piano stuff like ready to go. And, you know, I really loved learning how to produce with Lost in the Azure, writing orchestral music and adding other textures and like ambient sounds. And part of me is kind of on this interesting cusp where I'm like, well, I could release more solo piano music, just piano music. But I could also push myself into this new realm of produced music. And part of me feels like that's where it's at, that I need to be adding more voices and more textures to my music. But it's a little scary and it's new. And, you know, I've been writing and releasing solo piano music for 4 years now. 4 years ago, I released my first album. So, yeah, I'm kind of in an interesting space professionally where I'm trying to decide what to do next. So I thought I would share that with you. It's you know, combined with the unsettled nature of coming out of the pandemic and then also buying a house that has so much to be done and still hardly any furniture and yeah. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Let's see, I'm trying to decide what to play for you next. I want to play some music. You know, I just played Luminous, which is in D minor, and it might actually be in A minor. Well, okay, my point is lost, but I think I want to play Lost in the Azure, actually. So Luminous was kind of my first big hit, like, you know, like it's one that had got a lot of playtime on a lot of playlists, and it's a lot of their favorites. And then Lost in the Azure was the title track of my last album, and they're both in the same key, but they're so different. I think they kind of show a lot of how I have grown as a composer over the last couple of years. So let's play Lost in the Azure. Oh, yet another one that, like, when I play it, it's just like, oh wow, this is really lovely. It's such an interesting thing as a writer of music and a creator to kind of like experience your own music like as if it's something new. Even though I generated it, it came out of my own brain, you know. But sometimes when I take enough of a break from playing it and then playing it again, it can be like, oh wow, yeah, this is really lovely. Let's see, Sai says, this seems to be quite a sad piece of music. It is, it really is. Lost in the Azure I wrote that to amplify Ian Urbina's reporting called The Outlaw Ocean about lawlessness on the high seas. And that, you know, he wrote about sea slavery and human trafficking and illegal fishing. I feel like anything I say after those two things is almost like, you know, whatever, even if it's horrible, illegal fishing, illegal dumping, the horrible things they do to stowaways when they're found on these scofflaw ships that are already breaking the law. It is a sad piece of music, but it's a complex, it's beautiful because the ocean is beautiful and holds so much deep mythology for us as humans, right? But it also is the site of such horrible atrocities committed by our own humanity. It's like, it's sad, it's also beautiful, it's complex. There's a lot to it, and my intention with the music was to try and present all of that. So the sadness, yes, but also the beauty. Like, these things can exist at the same time. It feels somehow wrong, but they can. Thank you, Scott. I really love this piece, and it provokes some emotion for me too. Sai says, are you talking about slavery? Yes, sea slavery. Or indentured servitude, which can be effectively the same thing. If a company gets somebody so indebted to them that they have no choice but to continue working for them in order to get any of their wages ever, it's effectively slavery. That took a little bit of a downturn, but yes, it is dark material, but it's really important. I feel like it's important that we all know that this is happening, because unless a lot of people know that it's happening, and we can, you know, create sort of pressure on governments and world organizations to do something about this, nothing will be done about it. It'll keep happening. So we have to see it in order to do something about it. So even though it's sad, even though it's hard, I feel like I've never, as an artist, tried to be only beautiful, only pretty, only lovely. I've tried to be human, and being human is complicated. Sometimes it's sad, sometimes it's horrible, sometimes it's beautiful. It's all of those things together. It's more complicated than just any one thing. But I think in this case, it's important. Okay, so I am going to do some improvising now, as I do every Monday. It's always something different. So the thing about improvising is you're only going to hear it ever once, unless I go back and watch the video and teach myself how to play what I did, because it's just coming out of this moment, which means that there can be little stumbles and like, oh, not that, and especially at the beginning of an improvisation. That sometimes happens for me, because I will sometimes go into a key change that I'm like, oh, not that, we're gonna try this again. I think that happened last week. But be here with me and sit here with me in this moment, because I think we can create something beautiful, and most importantly, something human together. Oh, I haven't thought about this at all. I have no idea what I'm gonna do. Well, that was kind of nice. I was kind of trying to go for a little bit complicated, but it was lovely. Sometimes improvising is almost like meditative, or, you know, it's almost like an emotional meditation. I had an interesting experience this last week, actually. Part of the reason, so there were a lot of reasons I chose to play Luminous first today. But part of the reason is because the only time I sat down at the piano between last Monday morning coffee and this Monday morning coffee, those of you who are musicians are going to gasp with horror at this, but I sat down at the piano once in the whole week. And yeah, I'm a professional. We had our handyman Luis was here, and I'd never played, Luis has been here for a lot of hours in the last couple of months, and I've never played the piano while he was here. Just because sometimes when someone is here in my personal life, I don't necessarily want to have the big conversation about what I do. It's, you know, it's just not always, but while he was here, I was feeling super stressed, not about what he was doing. I was just feeling stressed and exhausted, and just like, I didn't know I was like, there's so many things to do and I don't know what to choose because there's way too much for me to do, and it was tiring me out. And I was just like, you know what? I need to play the piano. I need to play the piano. That's what I can do. That's what I can do for myself. And so, you know, I was like, hey, Luis, I'm going to play the piano. Don't worry about being quiet. If you need me, if you need to talk to me, just interrupt me. No problem. And no matter how many times I say that to anybody, nobody ever interrupts me. It's kind of funny. You know, and so I played Luminous because I hadn't played it in so long, and I knew that playing it would be therapeutic and would help. And gosh, if not, that 4.5-minute song just made me feel so much better. And it's interesting because many people over the years have asked me or kind of assumed that for me, music making would be therapeutic. Oh, it must be therapeutic. It must help you a lot with your mental health. It must help you process emotions. And I have to say, music has often in my life, in my personal history, been work. Because my mom was a piano teacher, and I was taking lessons from her. I was a piano teacher myself. Like, they're professional training, like it's work. It's not therapy. It's not fun. I mean, I love it, and it's my purpose, and it's my passion. But this was probably the first time that I remember that it was therapeutic for me. And it was this magical realization. I was just like, wow, it's like I've grown to the place personally where my own music can be therapeutic for me. It was pretty cool. So now I can honestly say that yes, music is therapeutic for me. But it felt so good to play that piece that I wanted to share it here with you. And Luis really enjoyed it. And of course, he wanted to talk about my music and wanted to talk about the musicians he knows, and it was lovely, and we had a great conversation. So I've talked a lot this episode. I'd be curious to know, those of you that have been a part of Monday Morning Coffee a whole bunch, what parts you really enjoy, what parts you really feel like, oh man, I come back again and again for this, because that is helpful for me to not be completely random in how I present myself in Monday Morning Coffee. I'm learning how to do this. I want to do it well, and I want to do it in a way that feeds you and offers you something positive. So if you have anything to share with me, please do. Oh, Sai, I see you've said some really lovely things. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that you're here, and I'm so happy you enjoyed it. Thank you all for being here with me. You're wonderful. Thank you for saying hi in the comments so that I can see that you're here. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing okay this Monday morning, or Monday night if you're in the UK, or afternoon if you're in Nova Scotia, wherever you are and whenever you are. I hope you're okay. I hope you're well even. And I hope you have a really lovely week. Consider this your piano mom reminder to please do something for yourself this week, today. Do something kind and loving, wonderful, something that gives you joy and is not uncomplicated in the joy it gives you. Please give that to yourself today or this week. I know we're all busy and sometimes it's hard to fit those things in, but the first order of business is caring for yourself, and it's a tricky time right now. So I hope you take care of yourself, take care of those you love, and take care of everybody else if you got the extra energy and the bandwidth, because that's what we're all here for. Love you. Mwah. and I'll see you next week.